Welcome back, Stasa23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and today I have for you the Spyderco Swayback. This was a long anticipated knife. It seemed like it took forever for them to come out with this. I checked out the prototype, I think 2 years ago at Spyderco, and before that there was hints of it years and years ago. So this is a custom design from custom knife maker Mxg. And if you are a fan of Spyderco, you've definitely heard that name before, because you have the Swayback, and then right before the Swayback you had the Spydy Chef, and then before the Spydy Chef you had the Techno 2. I don't know if these are in the exact order, but somewhere I think these two might have been, I don't know. And Spyderco Bowie. And the one I'm missing is the Techno 1. Now, this Swayback came in at $273, and according to Spyderco's pricing, I don't think it's off the mark. You know, do I think it's worth that? You know, that's up to you to decide. But I will say the Bowie, which is in the same blade steel, pretty much, you know, the same, you know, contoured scales and all that, same blade finish, same feeling. The Bowie was $300. Now you're getting a little bit more titanium there and a little bit more blade. So there you go. The Techno, or the Techno 1 that's not here, was $180. This Techno 2 is $231. Now that's pretty pricey for this little bitty knife. The Spydy Chef was $235. These three are the only ones that are still in production. The other two, this one and the one, are discontinued. And if I had to guess, the Swayback will get discontinued, you know, pretty soon. It won't stay around as long as these two, I don't think, because, you know, it costs them a lot to make. And just like the Bowie, you know, this didn't stick around for a whole long time because the price tag was a lot. So, needless to say, I like Mxg designs. And the Swayback was one that, you know, like I said, had already caught my eye at Blade Show. One thing that I was kind of surprised on whenever I first checked out the Swayback at the Spyderco booth a couple of years ago was the size. I thought it was going to be a smaller knife. And my first experience into a Swayback was this cheap Rough Rider Swayback. So as you can see, there you go. There are the similarities. But I wanted to get one of these in hand because this awkward, you know, shape right here and just how this knife is designed, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on a Swayback until I found out how it felt in the hand. And this one's rather cheap, you know. I forgot what I paid for this, maybe 20 bucks with some micarta scales, 440A, I think, and, you know, okay. Not a terrible design. So I liked it enough to explore, you know, more options. And when this one came out, I jumped on it. So just to get you an idea of the size of this guy, I would say it's about a normal full-size EDC. You got a total length of 8.05 inches, blade length of 3.5 inches, a grip area from this little notch to about here is around 4¼ inches. You have a thickness in the handle of 0.48 inches. You have a width closed in the pocket of 1.22 inches. And you have a pretty stout blade stock thickness of 0.13 inches. And mine measured pretty much almost the entire length of the blade at 14 thousandths with a 15 degrees per side edge bevel. So they were able to achieve that because it's got a high hollow grind on it, and you can feel it. It thins out pretty nicely, at least on mine. I've handled a few of these at my local shop, and they all felt pretty much the same. So hopefully if you buy one, those specs will be pretty standard. The whole swayback pattern was inspired by the English jackknife from the 19th century. And like, I don't know if I'd said it earlier, this is a few times I've taken this video because of my dogs, but this is definitely a love it or hate it design. You know, you're either gonna be like, wow, I like that, I want it, or that's disgustingly ugly. I understand, to each their own. I enjoy it, so that's why I bought it. Yeah. So let's take a close look at this. You have, like, on the Spyderco bow, you have that same polished stonewash finish on the steel. I think that is absolutely beautiful. I love it. I wish I could replicate that in my modding. You have this nice long swedge and a needle-like point for piercing. And because of this nice needle-like point and this Wharncliffe blade shape, this blade is definitely going to excel in general utility tasks and increase control with that point like that. So that's probably my favorite aspect of using the knife, because it just works great. And if you're going to be doing pull cuts, it's super comfortable in this pull cut grip. If you're going to be, like, you know, shaving off of a stick or something, or cutting some rope, something that's you're gonna put some pressure behind, that's definitely a good plus point. Yeah, the Spyderco logo here. You have their medium-sized hole. I think it's like a 13 millimeter hole. Wait, no, it's a 10 millimeter hole. I'm sorry. You don't have any jimping up here, but they did add a subtle like finger guard right here. Not really, but just they left a little bit on this tang right here. So you got something to try to help you from sliding up on the blade. On this side, you have the blade steel designation, which is CTS XHP. I thoroughly enjoy XHP. I know there's gonna be people in the comments that say for $273, I can't believe they use XHP, but if you've used the XHP, you know, decently hard, or, I mean, I used an American Lawman and XHP till it was completely trashed, and I thought it held up pretty darn good. And in this right corner, you have the Spyderco written right there. On this side, you have Morrisine's Maker's Mark, and it's made in Taichung, Taiwan, which pretty much a lot of some people say their best knives come from Taichung. You know, I'm not going to speak on that, but I will say that they are very high quality. Much more quality than their Chinese or their Seke City, in my opinion. Let's close it up. You have standard hardware T8 and T6 here. You have a lanyard hole. You have a tip up left or right hand carry. This is not the clip that came with it. It comes with a standard looking Spyderco spoon clip, but it does have a different hole pattern. It's the smaller hole pattern. I don't know which knife I don't know which knife fits this, and I should have showed y'all the regular clip, but it's just a stainless clip. It's kind of shiny. I guess, you know, it kind of matches with the blade. Just looked at a place, and I really just don't understand why they didn't go with the Spyderco wire clip. That's what they did on every other one, and for some reason they broke it up here. I think it would have been a perfect fit, especially for this knife. I'm sure they had their reasonings, but I never heard it. The scales are 3D contoured, just like on the Bowie, as you can see. And it looks like you do have some thicker titanium scales on the Swayback. You don't have any sharp edges. As you can see, they have done a small chamfer that goes around the entire scale. So you don't have any, like, you know, sharp edges whenever you're holding the knife. You do have a flow-through construction with 2 hourglass standoffs. And as you can see inside there, you can see the lock bar over travel and the insert, that stainless thing down there. And I love how they did, being that they did that, I like how they blind screwed it from the other side. You can see the over travel through there. I would have been perfectly fine with the no lock bar insert and them carburizing the lock face like they did on this one, because this thing has been flipped many times and a good bit of pressure has been put on this blade, and this thing has not moved a bit. I would have rather this, in my opinion, and they did it here. Now I do know they did have some issues with it sticking on some of them worse than others. Mine's kind of went away from use of this guy, but there you go. Let's see. Let's get some size comparisons out of the way. Oh, and it's also riding on phosphor bronze washers, and you do have a nice easy access to that lock bar because of the cutout right here. And your lockup is around 50%. And I can push it over a little bit. They did not put a lanyard barrel tube in here like they do on some of their knives. Like, see the barrel tube right here. I'm glad they didn't put that here, because it would have like, for instance, they did it on the chef, and it just looks so busy back here. It's a lot cleaner like that, in my opinion. They didn't have to worry about it on the Bowie, because the Bowie had this back spacer, and they didn't do it on the Techno 2 either. So I'm glad they didn't do it here. No, not needed. This clip matches pretty much identically. This is the Mxg Gear Clip. I bought this knife secondhand from a buddy of mine, Sharp Dad, on Instagram, and he had already purchased a clip, so all I know is it came from Mxg Gear. I don't know the exact size, but if somebody would like to know that, I could definitely reach out to him and find out. Good action, just like on the Bowie's drop shut. It's breaking in more and more every day. You can flick it out. You can slow roll it, and if you want to make it feel like a traditional, you could always two-hand open it. Now for lefties, I mean, real quick, right-handed, you can't spy flick it because the hole's covered up by the lock bar. But if you do buy this as a lefty, your main deployment will be Spidey flick. It can easily be done, and it can easily be closed. So, you know, sorry, lefties, if you don't like the Spidey flick, you either have to do that or two-hand open it, or open it with your right hand. Let's see. Now, one thing I will note, like I said earlier, it will, if you do buy this knife, it will take you some time to adjust to the ergonomics because of how this handle goes up. I have medium-sized hands, so it doesn't affect me as much. The butt of that kind of pushes up against my palm right there. If I hold it back some, that's where, like when I'm holding this area, that's when it kind of feels really awkward in hand. I guess I could hold it all the way back here if I wanted to. But all I have to do is slide up past that for me, and it's rather comfortable. In the reverse grip, you know, if you choose to do this, I mean, not the reverse grip, the pull grip, it's extremely comfortable. You know, I'm not certain, but I've heard that that's why this knife was designed to to cut cotton or something, because your thumb would go here and they would pull. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody just told me that. They could have been totally lying to me. I don't know. But it didn't take me long to get used to that. Also, I had to get used to opening this knife, because the hole is chamfered, and being that you have that polished stone washed finish, it's kind of slick, and being the blade secluded so far down in there, you just got to kind of bury your thumb in there, and after a while it becomes second nature. In the beginning, it was kind of hard for me to flip it out like that, because I just couldn't get a good grip on the knife. But once I figured where to put my thumb, it's not a problem whatsoever. Let's get some size comparisons, and I'll talk about some of my nitpicks and complaints. Let's see. First two are Spydercos. You got the Power 2. So it's pretty much identical in length to the Power 2. And here's the Power 3. Power 3 is a good bit shorter. You got the Benchmade Bailout, the aluminum version. The Bailout, if you count that bail in the back right here, is pretty darn close in length and width. That's a pretty good size comparison, and feeling in hand too, as far as what it feels up. And then another Spyderco, the Spyderco Smock. The Smock is a little bit shorter. So there you go, that's your size comparisons. Let's get a weight on this knife, and then I'll kind of talk about some of my nitpicks and complaints. It's not a light knife, but for the size, I didn't find it cumbersome in the pocket. 3.82 ounces for 3.5-inch blades. So I think that's perfect. Could they have milled out some pockets in there? Yeah, but it would have cost more, and less people would have probably bought it. So let's talk about a few of the nitpicks I have. Talked about one of them already, and that is the hole being slick like that, and the blade being tucked in there so far, because you got these thick scales. You can see the thickness on the tie scales now from that cutout. Being this hole is kind of small, it's the exact same size, I think, as the, actually, is it? No, it's a little bit smaller, because that's the bigger hole. Let's see, one of them, I think. Yeah, it's the same exact size as the cutout as far as left to right on the Spidey Chef. Spidey Chef's just not as deep because it doesn't need to be. So I would have either rather them, leave this a little bit rougher, like they're usually really good at doing, or open this up a little bit. Probably I would have rather them open this hole up a little bit. That's probably something I'm going to do. I plan on doing a chop mod to this knife, cutting it down to right behind this second screw. I would enjoy it more for use and carry. The next nitpick is such a beautiful knife, and they did this on all of them, so I didn't expect them to change it. But the lock relief, I would have much rather see it. It would have been a lot more desirable to the eye if it would have been inside. Everything would have flowed just right. It would have looked just like the show side scale. But, I'm not the one making it, so. And the lock bar cutout is a little wide. They did a cleaner, even though this is about the same, they did a cleaner job on the Bowie, because they didn't put that, the little hole right there. I know that's where it drills to where they can cut this. I don't know how they did this. They must have used a different mechanism to cut it. I was trying to see. They do have it down there though. And another thing, like I said, I talked about it before, I would have rather them do the same treatment that they did to the lock face, which is they heat treated the lock bar to give it extra hardness on the Bowie. And this lock is perfect, no stick whatsoever. You don't have any stick here, but what I did notice when I first got this and when I was flipping it and when I was cutting into, I was just breaking out some, I think it was just double-walled cardboard. And I noticed this thing kind of was slid over a little bit on me. As you can see, I can push it over. And what's going on is the tang of the blade and the top of this, it's slippery. So, and the geometry must not be, you know, perfect. So you get that just like on a lot of ZTs where you can push the lock bar all the way over. I can't push the lock bar all the way over, but as you can see, it's already at 50% and I can push it over. I can push it over almost to the end. I'm sure if I muscled it, I probably could, but I'm not going to do that. Now, sure, you can always get a new one, but you better hope it fits like it should. Just something that they could have avoided, but I know they were probably appeasing the majority that think for that price they better have a lock bar insert. I don't think that's the case. I have some very old knives that just have the lock face heat treated and they have no problem. I mean, look at the Sabenzas. Their lock faces are heat treated, and this lock has not moved over. I can't even push this thing over. Yeah, tried to. I got it over just a little bit, and this thing hasn't moved a bit. And I've seen people with very old ones; they don't move if it's done right. So, you know, can't do nothing about it, but that's something I wish they wouldn't have went with. I'm glad they blind screwed those so you didn't have those extra holes here. And last thing is, it's not really a huge deal, but with a bigger knife and when you're adding a little bit extra weight, the balance point, I mean, obviously the balance point being that you get this really tapered grind here and it thins out a good bit. And then they did this deep hollow, taking off a lot of material. You have these thick titanium scales back here with this bulbous end. Your balance point is all the way back here, which is not the end of the world. It just feels a lot lighter when the balance point is in the front area, right here in the middle. Let's see if that would have been perfect right there. But it doesn't feel like it's going to fall out of my hand. And I know for me, it doesn't matter at all because I'm cutting all this part off on mine anyway. So that's not going to be an issue. But you know, some people may bother them too much to buy the knife. So overall, what do I think? I like it. And personally, if you're on the fence and you think you're going to end up buying it, I would go ahead and buy it now because I have a feeling that this won't be in production long. I don't know how long. I can't, I won't even give you an estimate, but I would say definitely no. I don't remember how long the Bowie was in production, but I would say definitely no longer than the Bowie was in production. Because they're pretty close in price point, $300 and $273. And like I said, you got different proportions. You get more steel here, more titanium here. So, and their prices have increased over the years, like they do every year. So don't sleep on it if you want one, because you do not want to wait and then go try to find one on the secondary market and see the stupid prices that people are charging for this knife right here. It's just sick. I saw somebody asking $700 for one of these on eBay. That is outrageous. And I see people buying them for $500 left and right. That's absolutely insane. It's a really good knife, but no, not that good. All right, there you go. There's the Spyderco Swayback. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I got something cool to share with y'all that I got made for the channel. I'll show y'all on the next video. If I don't show y'all, y'all remind me down in the comments section. All right, guys and girls, hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful day, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.